We'll be chatting to Maulana Muhammad from Al Khair Honey. We're going to be speaking about real, authentic or real and fake honey. What are the signs that a person should look for? How would you know what is real honey or what is fake honey? What are some of the health issues that are related to consuming fake honey as well? The difference between A-grade honey, organic honey, all of that there we'll be discussing with Maulana Muhammad.
Yeah, Malidaya, like you're saying, do you know what is real honey, what is fake honey? And, without knowing how to check the purity of honey, it's going to be very, very hard and difficult to tell and identify the difference. Like somebody said that, it's most impossible, it's likely impossible to just basically, if you don't know much about honey, to see whether this is fake or adulterated honey. Anyway, while we're waiting for our guests to come on, dear listeners, the benefits of honey just don't stop at the satisfaction or the taste of the honey. The powerful healing sifar, the attributes of honey have also been used to promote health and healing. Quran Kareem, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has mentioned, Allah refers to, in the hadith of the Nabi of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala refers to honey as the healer of diseases. وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ إِلَى النَّحْلِ أَنِ اتَّخِذِي مِنَ الْجِبَالِ بُيُوتًا وَمِنَ الشَّجَرِ وَمِمَّا يَعْرِشُونَ ثم كلي من كل الثمرات فاسلكي سبل ربك ذللا يخرج من بطونها شراب مختلف ألوانه فيه شفاء للناس. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala talks about the honey, that Allah taught the bee to build its cells in the hills, on trees, and its people's habitations as well. Allah talks about the different colors that actually emanate from there. فيه شفاء للناس. There is shifa, there is healing for mankind. And again, listeners, there is a sign, Allah says, for those who give thought. So with regards to honey, it's a remedy for every illness, and the Quran Kareem, the Hadith mentions it's a remedy for every illness of the body. So inshallah, let's hold on to two remedies here, listeners. Both remedies mentioned by the Nabi of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. One is the Quran Kareem and one is the honey. And like Malidaya is saying that as in all food, the health benefits of the honey depends upon the quality, and we know that raw honey, the purest form, comes straight from the comb. It's placed into the honey extractor or the press. This is basically unheated, unpasteurized, and unprocessed honey. That is one of the best ways, for honey. But let's talk about, the different colors, the textures, liquid honey, cream honey. What is the difference, and how do you actually see whether it's adulterated honey or pure honey? Gee.
Yeah, that's what we will be discussing with Maulana Muhammad from Al Khair Honey, inshallah. Those are some of the questions that we do have for him as our engineer does get him on the line. We are just busy getting him on that line, and then we will discuss with him further. And you've seen in the number, or lately in the news, and you've seen in some of the shops, unfortunately, they have been stocking fake honey. So it will be really interesting to get some insight into that. We do have Maulana Muhammad on the line. Maulana Muhammad, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Now, Maulana Muhammad is from Al Khair Honey, and this has been around since 2002, becoming a household name across South Africa. And they've now ventured in educating people around how to spot fake honey, as well as the plight of our honeybees in South Africa due to various reasons such as pollution and climate change. Maulana Muhammad, the first question, while many stores were called out, for selling fake honey, many stores seem to have taken no caution and keep stocking fake honey. How would one know what to look for in terms of real honey versus fake honey?
Jay, Jazakallah for having me on the show. Before I answer your question, I would like to comment on your remark that many stores were called out, and why do they still continue to stock fake honey? I must point out that a lot of the major chain stores, in order for them to receive stock and put on the shelf, they don't directly purchase from a supplier or producer, but they go through a distribution chain, which goes to their warehouse. And then from the warehouse, they pull stock and then they put it into the stores nationwide. Now, pure honey, very pure honey, will crystallize. Crystallize means it will get hard, because that is a natural process of it.
Oh.
So in order to prolong the state of honey whereby it doesn't crystallize or it doesn't get hard on the shelves, because over 3 months it might just crystallize, they put it through a process which will heat up the honey as a result, it destroys the honey itself. So it destroys all the enzymes and all the good things in the honey, which then it becomes syrup. And with that process, it's a bit like long life milk, where now it can last longer on the shelves, and therefore they can sell. So inadvertently, what is happening is that the consumer ends up purchasing honey which is syrup, and that ends up doing nothing to them. And also with the chain stores being very price conscious, in order to keep the prices down, they will now go and mix the honey. Well, not them, not the stores themselves, but the producers, in order to be able to meet the price target of the chain stores. They will basically bring down the price of the honey by mixing it with other ingredients such as sugar and so on in order to bulk it up, therefore reducing the price of the pure honey itself. So the consumer at the end of the day receives a heated honey, which we call irradiation, and with it there's lots of sugar mixed, which is very detrimental to one's health.
Okay. Maulana, so basically your honey has to crystallize while in storage.
Every honey, if you leave it out, it will definitely get hard. It has to get hard. Obviously, there are certain type of honeys which takes longer to get hard, but the honey has to get hard itself.
Okay. And talking about fake honey, is there any health issues that one should know and be worried about in terms of consuming the fake honey?
Definitely. In order for them to bring down the price of fake honey, for example, we have the squeeze bottle, which is half a kilo for 35 rand. Now, it doesn't even cost the beekeeper 35 rand to bottle that. It costs them considerably more to get a kilo of honey out of the beehive. So what they do is that they put a lot of sugar in it, and with them putting a lot of sugar, it's very fatal to diabetic patients. There's a lot of problems where, for example, some people use the honey for healing properties, which is told to them by the herbal the herbal people who want them to use the honey to cure themselves of certain disease. But all that goes out the window because the honey itself is mixed and it is heated.
And then looking at the different types of honey, you get A-grade honey, you get organic honey. What's the difference between the two?
Okay, so the organization which controls the Beekeeping Association in South Africa is called SABIO, and SABIO reports to government. They have released a list of what the names, how to grade the honey, etc. So a lot of these grades that they have, like for example, if you have choice grade and so on, that's nothing really. There's nothing at all with regards to the grading. What you should make sure that you do is that you purchase your honey from smaller boutique stores, whereby they turn the stock much quicker, and you'll be able to physically see for yourself. So don't read too much on what's on the label with regards to A grade and choice grade or whatever it is. Just make sure that you know who you're purchasing your honey from into the boutique stores, and they have regular stock changing. So it means that the honey itself won't crystallize. If it does crystallize, then you know it is pure honey on there.
What's the difference between A-grade honey and organic honey? And also, like we spoke about that as well. But added to that, I'm going to ask you a question, Maulana, that basically what I'm trying to say is that pure honey doesn't get dissolved in water, while the fake honey gets immediately dissolved in water. And also added to that, what they normally say is that, a normal or rather good honey, the taste vanishes in a matter of minutes compared to fake honey because the taste will remain for a little bit while longer because of the presence of the sugar in it.
Yes. You see, like I mentioned before, on the label, don't read too much on what's on the label, because organic honey could be directly from a beekeeper and A-grade honey could be from a factory. So just be careful with regards to that. What you've mentioned now about the honey dissolving in water and so on, these are all various tests that you can run. They're not guaranteed tests, but they are quite strong tests to see whether this honey is safe or not. However, how to detect honey is that you should be able to see where on the label itself. There usually is, with fake honey, there usually is limited information on the label, because obviously they don't want to give out too much information. And they are also usually imported. So look at where the honey is from. Try and stick with South African honey. Don't go with the honey from other countries, because as soon as the honey comes into the country, they have to be irradiated, they have to be heated. So that honey actually means nothing. It's also very fatal to diabetic patients. You'll notice, very importantly, you'll very, very quickly notice the honey if it's below market value, which means that, like I mentioned earlier, this 35 Rand bottle is definitely fake honey, because you cannot sell honey for 35 Rand for half a kilo. So you are 100% correct that it has no smell. So when you open up the bottle and you smell it, you'll actually have no smell at all of honey. But if you look at pure honey, you'll actually be able to smell the honey very, very nicely. And obviously over a certain amount of time, say it's lying on the shelves of the shop for 2-3 months, and you see that it's not crystallizing, it's not forming a crystal layer, then obviously it's mixed honey. And what is very, very important is that you'll find that if there's many, many bottles of honey, and all those bottles are the same color, they're consistently light, or they're very similar color, then you know that that's a batch which came, and that is from the factory. So it means that it's been mixed, and that's why all the honeys are the same color. Because remember, every nectar, which means that the bees go to certain flowers, and they go pull honey from there. So if they go to blue gum, for example, blue gum will have dark blue gum or light blue gum. If they go for orange blossom, will have a different color. So every honey is actually different colors. But if you look at on the shelf, and every honey is exactly the same color, then you know that it's not from the beekeeper, it's actually from the factory.
What about creamed honey? What's the information of creamed honey and the difference between liquid honey and creamed honey?
So cream honey is a brilliant sensation which Khair Honey has been selling for the past 18 years or so. So basically what it is that whenever we put honey on the shop shelf, and over time, obviously, it will crystallize, especially in winter, where it gets hard very quickly. So what Khair Honey does is that they give a guarantee to the shopkeeper, whereby if it does crystallize, then they will go out and give them a fresh stock and remove this crystallized honey off the shelves. Then we will take that honey to the lab, to our plant, and we will crush that honey. Remember, we're not heating the honey up in order to make it liquid again. We're crushing the honey into crystals, into fine crystals, of then which become like a buttery type of honey, where you can actually spread it on your toast every morning and things like that. So it still remains pure honey, and still remains with all the necessary ingredients and necessary enzymes that you need to gain all the healing properties. It's all in there. It's just that it's much more manageable, and the kids love it as well, because it's much easier to eat than having honey dripping off the toast, and which you can't do for school lunches and things like that also.
You know, just on this topic now, as we started it on our WhatsApp group, on the WhatsApp PC that we have here in studio, there's a number of messages coming through, and it's something that Muslims they hold on to because of the different benefits, the shifa that has been kept in honey as well. So if you could just assist with one or two of the listeners, some of the questions that they have. Someone saying that we find many products are not labeled properly. Do we find that this is a red flag? Others saying that, it's just a myth. So is there any way that you can look for in terms of these type of details when purchasing honey?
Yes. So if you look at one of the methods to detect is that when you pick up this honey bottle and you see there's very limited information, especially if it's not made in South Africa and there's no nutritional values put on there, and you can very clearly see when a label is not up to standard, and that means that they do not meet the standards which is set out by SABIO, who is the government organization. Immediately you should put that honey back and go and get yourself a bottle with sufficient information on there which guarantees that it is pure honey.
Well, now just an added question. Will I be correct in saying that, one of the other ways to see whether it's pure honey is that in pure honey you will find the presence of some sort of impurities, like, dirty-looking particles, a bit of pollen, and some bee body parts as opposed to fake honey, which will not have any impurities. That's
partially correct. Basically, for example, in a Khair Honey range, we have filtered honey, which means that we take the honey itself and we run it through a sieve, of which we remove the bee's knees, we remove the extra pollen, we remove the wax, because a lot of people don't like that. They just want a pure filtered honey. So you're not losing any healing properties at all. It's still filtered. However, we also have an unfiltered raw honey range, which when you open it up inside, you can clearly see. You'll even find bees' legs in there. You'll find pollen. You'll find wax. It's directly from the hive into there. So Al Khair honey itself caters for a various of requirements and desires of the consumer. However, the cream is definitely filtered, and we have the regular squeeze bottles in there, which is filtered, which is easier for people to manage. Remember that not everybody, especially kids, they don't really want to see these pollens and bees' legs and all that in the honey. You know, they're a bit more refined honey. That's what they need.
And then, speaking about raw honey, you mentioned you have the filtered honey and the raw honey. Are there added benefits to the raw honey?
Yes and no. With the raw honey, you will find that it's particles of the wax itself, because it's so fine that when you're eating it, you can actually feel it. You can feel the texture in your mouth, and you can actually even digest it, which aids in your digestive system. It also has the pollen itself, which is, if you're not allergic to pollen in that, you can actually eat that. It's also beneficial for you. But then, obviously, the filter honey doesn't mean that it has any less healing properties. It has the same healing properties as the unfiltered, just the unfiltered, because it has these other natural components inside, it may help you a little bit further. So definitely the unfiltered, personally, it is my own favorite, which is what I use at home.
Maulana, in the news this week, there were some reports on bees in South Africa possibly facing extinction. Is this correct? Why is this, in your opinion? And am I correct in saying that organic honey is becoming scarce? And if any reasons?
100% on that. You see, the demand in South Africa for pure honey far outstrips the supply. And that is what we working as an organization in order to change that a bit. What's also happening is that the farmers themselves are spraying pesticides on their trees. For example, in the last season, we had almost no orange blossom honey because the pesticides being sprayed on the orange blossom basically rendered the whole crop useless, and the bees will not be able to produce honey from there. So there was a huge shortage of orange blossom. As far as the bees going extinct, now keep in mind that pollination is a very, very important part of the ecosystem. So if bees get extinct and there's no pollination, you will not see green on Earth. You will see only gray. So I think it's a bit far outstretched to say that bees is going to be extinct. We can rather say that bees are performing much less, so we need to change the pesticide situation in South Africa, in the world actually, and also try and promote the rural areas to go and harvest and farm and harvest more honey in order to increase the supply so that it meets the demand of the South African public. Therefore, the South African public then are not forced to purchase the cheap imported honeys which are fake.
Right. Maulana, Jazakallah, much appreciated. Maulana Muhammad Saif from Al Khair Honey, and Jazakallah for the interesting information you shared with us this morning, Maulana.
Jazakallah for having us.